All right, we are live. Hello and welcome to another episode of Midweek IPL Saga. Today I've got Abhinav, Bidu, and Arijit with me. So today, what we're going to do is we'll review two games. One is both high voltage games. One is GT versus RR, the first qualifier, and then the eliminator, which is RCB versus Lucknow Super Jets. And then we will also do predictions for the second qualifier, which is going to be RCB versus RR, and who we think should be or would be in the finals. All right, gentlemen, let's get started with the first match, GT versus Lucknow Super Jets. Somebody please explain to me, how did GT even win after dropping so many catches? It seemed like they kept dropping catches left, right, and center.
Yeah, I've been saying for quite some time. Somebody explained to me how GT has been winning. But there's something there, some magic happening in that squad where they have this insane belief in their abilities to pull off a batting victory. Looking at that squad, you'd think they're more a bowler squad, but their batting confidence has been insane to the point where we've been commenting on the players that are getting them to win. They've not gotten teams to win in a long time, right? So there's some magic happening in GT that's been really nice to watch. Um, there's this one other point I want to call out in this particular match. I feel the whole of IPL is taking like a reset, right? Because we were going through pitches that were getting worn out. So as the league stage kept on progressing, the pitches kept getting more and more worn out. So lower scores were seen, right? So a team's batting and scoring 170, 180 was almost guaranteed a win because that was a tough score to beat, to chase. But we're now back on fresh pitches, right? So we're seeing scores near 200 being chased down almost with ease, right? And that's what I saw in this match, that Gujarat had really no troubles in chasing down that 190 score, which, if you were looking at the match from the lens of what had been happening in the IPL up until that match, you would have thought that, Rajasthan with 188 had a good score on board. But yeah, I think they chased it down quite comfortably, in my opinion. Catches were dropped, but comfortable chase for Gujarat.
Yeah. I mean, I have a controversial question to ask, but or maybe I'll just pop the question. Rajasthan Royals have been the masters at using tactics. Should they have retired Josh Butler and then maybe got a Hetmeyer or an Ashwin? Would that have got their score to 200?
I think the way he ended, I think it worked out well with the kind of striker that he ended, because he was looking quite stuck. But then I think because Rajasthan was batting first, now that we have the benefit of hindsight, we saw all the three teams in the same pitch score over 180. But if you have told Rajasthan that you would score 188 odd runs going first in a playoff, they would have taken it. But if you just have to pull something out of Rajasthan, I think Yuzi Chahal is not getting wickets in the last couple of games. And that is hurting them, because if batsmen survive till the 18, 19, 20 over, they just tear apart whoever is bowling. It doesn't really matter. And Prasidh Krishna is not among the best, but I feel that 16 was good enough runs for him to score, defend. But they just have to surrender to the brilliance of David Miller, who incidentally did not do well when he was with RR for the last couple of seasons, and he decided to come and bat against us in a really crucial game.
I think it's a reset of the pitch, right? I mean, I go back to it because I've always noticed with RR, either Ashwin or Yuzi have been really economical. They've troubled the batsman, right? But I think they were expecting the pitch to do more for them, which perhaps didn't happen. Maybe I misread it. And so when both of them got hit for runs, RR was left searching for answers, right? So I think that phrase, that frame of mind had to be reset, I felt.
Yeah, I mean it was interesting because didn't David Miller put out a tweet apologizing to RR? Something he did, right? And then RR shared a meme as a response. But yeah, I mean, David Miller did not click with RR, but it's interesting. What is with GT and finishing off games in a six? There was one game where was it against PBKS, the first game, where Tewatia scored two sixes to seal the game. Yesterday, David Miller hit three sixes to seal the game. And I'm sure there was one game where Rashid Khan and There was somebody else who, and Tewatia maybe, who smacked sixes to seal a game. Something with GT and trying to close out games with sixes. Yeah. Okay. Anything else which RR could have done better yesterday?
I think again, yeah. Go ahead, Parijit.
I think the only thing I found it was a little the calculation of giving Prasidh Krishna the last over was something they could have avoided, because Prasidh Krishna, even in his last IPL, was going for runs in the very end. So he tends to get a little nervous, is what I feel. But other than that, it was a close game. It was a good enough game. Prasidh has been very good for Rajasthan Royals this season. But I think when it comes to such crucial juncture of the games and all, I think experience or that exposure to such situations can help. I think in coming years, Prasidh can be a better bowler in the last over, in the death, actually.
Yeah. I mean, it's yeah. I didn't think that GT was going to pull it off. But what was interesting to see also is how GT were very cool throughout. They did not attempt a lot of rash shots. It seemed like both Hardik and David Miller calculated the risks. They hit a lot of boundaries, ground shots. At no point did they seem like they were panicking, and they were behind the required run rate. So, it was another great example of how you control a game, even when you are expected to score at 10 plus runs in an over. And very clinically, methodically, they seem to go about the chase. In spite of having lost Gill or Saha early, it seemed like they went through the motions pretty well.
Even
All
those
right.
sixes, right?
Very
Even those 3 sixes, I don't think they were panicked because they needed 16 runs of the over. I thought that they would get it quite comfortably, even if they didn't hit 3 sixes in a row. But it was just something that Miller was able to deliver with a lot of ease, particularly the balls that he faced. I don't think he was really troubled by any of them, and so he patched them off easily. But even if we hadn't seen 3 sixes at that point, as you said, the composure that they showed through the match, I never really was in doubt that they were going to pull it off.
Yeah. No, none of us, anybody who was watching was in any doubt that they could not pull it off, because it seemed like they were in the driver's seat throughout. Okay, moving on from that game to the next exciting game, which will obviously get some of us more excited, was LSG versus RCB. Should Rajat Patidar have bought a lottery ticket yesterday, because he seemed to have a lot of luck?
Yeah, I think a lot of the RCB players had luck yesterday. So I was doing this thing, right? Patidar has done, I think, 3 innings or maybe 4 in this IPL where he's done that 40 ball 60 kind of innings, right? Good strike rate. He goes till that 60 point. And somewhere in his, I think, late 50s or early 60s, when he was going after the bowler, he was dropped, right? And that gave him the impetus to move ahead, which is where he was getting caught in the past. So yeah, I think luck played a factor. I think DK also got dropped. Our other panelist Arun keeps saying that once DK is dropped, he scores a lot of runs. But even DK was dropped, and while he didn't do the usual DK bash, he still had a significant contribution in the finishing of the score, right? So definitely luck, but I wouldn't let that take anything away from the effort that Patidar has put in. I think it was a fantastic innings. I feel RCB was very shaky against Ravi Bishnoi. And if my memory serves me right, he took Bishnoi out for 26 runs in an over. I think he just kept smacking him all over the place, and shows a lot of heart, shows a lot of talent. So yeah, I hope it sticks for RCB and he's able to contribute more.
I think that's an interesting point, because that was when the switch was turned on. Bishnoi's fourth over. I think it was the 16th over of the match or the 15th. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Suddenly, it seemed like Rajat Patidar unleashed on Bishnoi, and suddenly the team went from 130 to a 155 odd, 160 odd at that point. What was looking like a 175-ish, 180 score, with that over, suddenly now they could push to a 200. I think, in my opinion, that was an over where something got switched on from Rajat Patidar, and he smacked Bishnoi, and then they carried that momentum.
Yeah. I also
Sorry,
think
Arijit,
overs before that were pretty crucial, right? Because I hated the fact that Maxwell came in and pretty much the first ball he tried a reverse sweep. And it was almost like Maxwell was doing everything he could to be as rash as he could. He could have played a few more balls, because when he contributes, he can again contribute big, right? But thankfully for RCB, the way it's panning out is after they lose 2-3 wickets, they become properly dangerous. If LSG had done themselves the grace of keeping Kohli on strike, keeping him in the pitch, I don't believe we would have gotten to this score, and that's a pretty controversial thing to say, but I'll stand by it. I think up top our batsmen aren't performing, but it's being taken care of quite well by the lower order.
Yeah, I mean, when for everybody who knows the history of RCB, right? When was the last time the big guns did not fire and we won a match? There was a period in early 2000s and maybe mid 2000s, still late 2000s, when you were always dependent on either a Kohli, a Gale, an ABD, sometimes a cameo from Sarfaraz Khan, sometimes from Ross Taylor. These
KL Rahul.
4 or 5 names who always did it. And to this season, you had a Kohli play 1 or 2 innings, Faf maybe play 1 or 2 innings, but you've had a Shabazz bail us out, a Rajat Patidar bail us out, DK bail us out a couple of times. Sometimes the bowlers bailed you out. I mean, this is probably that season where RCB is not dependent on 1 or 2 batsmen. Somebody or the other comes in and plays an innings for that day, which kind of can be advantages, disadvantages, but yeah.
No, I think that's great for a team where the lesser known players come out and score crucial runs or turn the match on its head. So that's great for a team. I think RCB finally got its team composition correct, where they don't have to depend on the top players like, say, a Kohli or Maxwell. Actually, everyone was celebrating. I was around a few RCB fans, and they were celebrating that Kohli got out for 25 runs and all that. So things have changed. Even I believe there was a show where Sehwag, during a preview of the match, he said that Rajat Patidar would be the man who will make the most for RCB, and boy, he was proved correct.
Yeah, I mean, it was a magical innings which every young player would wish they played in a crucial match like that. Okay. The other thing is, how many of you pretty much tore your hair apart when the match was evenly poised at about what? LSG needed 40 out of the last 12 balls, and then Harshal Patel comes around the wicket. The first ball is a wide. The second ball is a wide, and it goes for a 4, right? I mean, did any of you just have palpitations at that moment?
Yeah, I had given up. I thought that was the end of it for RCB. But I've seen this, I think, a couple of times this year, where Josh Hazelwood gets hit in 1 over, comes back in the next over and picks a wicket. I think it was again against LSG in one of the previous matches where he got Stoinis out by playing with him around, then he moved to the off, and then he got hit on the wickets. So he has this ability to pick an unexpected wicket, right? And the big bonus that it gives is it gets the set batsman out. When Rahul went out, I think that was the end of the game for LSG. I know the others can swing their bat, but he was the danger man for us, right? So yeah, I see a couple of others wanting to comment in. Yeah, jump in.
Bidu, go ahead.
No, I thought I misheard, like when Abhinav said when KL Rahul got out, you thought danger was ended, but I thought when the KL Rahul got out, that's when the chase actually began with the striker climbing up. I mean, you have to feel for Lucknow Super Giant. I mean, when they were actually in the initial stages, when they and Gujarat Titans were in the top 2, I thought Lucknow Super Giants were a far better team than Gujarat Titans in terms of capability and in terms of player that they have in the paper, because they seem to have answers for all the questions opponent posed in terms of options, both in batting and bowling. But the problem is, as it turned out, the openers, both KL and Quinton de Kock are running for the orange cap. I mean, till this point of time, they were running for that orange cap. But what it was actually happening was that the middle order had no set, at least place. There was a cycle of Manish Pandey, Ayush Badoni, and few more people coming in. This time it was Manan Bohra, who was at number 3 and number 4. But Stoinis and Evan Lewis had to be at the top 4. Stoinis in the last time when they were playing for Delhi Capitals, he's in top 4. Evan Lewis for West Indies, he bats at top 4. So it makes no sense in a chase of 200 to keep them out for so long. And just Manan Bohra, I mean, he did get out after scoring those brilliant runs at a strike of 170. But I feel if either of Evan Lewis or Stoinis would have been there, they could have capitalized the start and they could have continued to play for innings of 40 or 50 and probably give Lucknow a chance to win or chase it down.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very good point. Though. When I looked at they got Evan Lewis in for this match, I said, oh, it's just not the top order, but if Evan Lewis gets going and plus he's a left-hander, it could be dangerous for us. So I was not pleasantly, but I really thought, what is the whole point of playing Evan Lewis when you're not getting him 1 down or even 2 down? I just did not see the logic of that decision at all. But yeah, I mean, and against playing Stoinis about 5 down.
I still understand Stoinis coming late because they had a very stable period in between. KL had a good partnership that took them for quite some time. But Evan Lewis was a surprise for me because when Quinton de Kock got out early, Evan Lewis, another big hitting left-hander who can make, it brings back that left-right combination. He could have ideally come in there to capitalize on the power play. And seeing Manan Bohra was a big surprise because I thought he would be back there, maybe somewhere 3-4, in case KL falls to, help with the run rate and help with rotation and stuff. So I think they definitely missed the trick on that one.
But I am a little concerned about KL Rahul's batting. If you see the scorecards of Lucknow Super Giants and RCB, almost everything is similar. Like if you go by the economy rate of the bowlers, it's pretty much on same line and track. But the concern is like Rajat Patidar scored 110 runs, 110 odd runs of 52 balls. And you had KL Rahul who batted there for almost 10 overs, 58 balls, and he scores about 70 odd runs. That's a little bit of concern for me as a fan of KL Rahul, that he's not scoring runs faster than required. So that puts a little pressure on probably other people, but then they don't seem to be settling in their roles when it comes to, like, say, Stoinis or the Lewis and things like that.
Yeah, I think just to add one point with Arijit, what happens is when such batsmen play the sheet anchor role and accelerate towards the end, I'll just give you an example of 2 innings in the recent games. One is Rajat Patidar. You can see towards the end when they're accelerating and they're hitting all the balls, there are a few chances which is getting dropped. Even in Butler's case, there was a missed chance when Rashid Khan dropped him. Else, his innings would have panned out in a similar fashion with a strike of 120 or 100 runs. And KL Rahul did not get any opportunity. The first time he just lifted the ball up, someone caught him and he was out. So there's a lot of fortune when these kind of batsmen try to accelerate at the end. But if there is no fortune given to them, they just the innings just ends and it looks terribly bad for the entire side.
Yeah, I just want to add, in this particular match, I know KL's run rate was not very high, but I didn't think he really needed to go any harder than he did. Frankly, if Hazelwood hadn't picked his wicket, I felt LSG were cruising to a victory. Because there's just 14 runs between the two of them, and if he was there for another 1.5 overs, very easily accelerated and got those runs out, right? So he was playing a decent knock. He has been known to play a little cautious to keep his team and keep the batsmen safe. Everything as it is, if only they had pushed Evan Lewis up top instead of Manan Bohra, I think they would have been
But then Abhinav, just one thing, like this was a similar pattern when he was captaining Punjab also last season, right?
Similar reasons,
So
right? They didn't have players behind him in Punjab last year.
probably I think what happens that the coaches or the managers have to find out a better strategy when they are deploying KL Rahul and get players who can support him and finish games because he's clearly not finishing them.
Which I thought they did yesterday. They had they had two explosive left-handers, but for some reason, and they have finishers, but for some reason they messed up their batting order, which probably is the biggest issue with LSG, that they did not have a settled middle order. They kept chopping and changing, and that probably cost them the match and you know of a progress in the tournament. They should have finished second, but they finished third, and they came up against the red hot RCB. The other point is, I know on an Eden Garden pitch, which was a used pitch, they wanted extra pace in Dushanta Chamira. I personally felt Jason Holder is a much better utility player than Dushanta Chamira. With Chamira's pace, and if he got his line wrong, batsman could use his pace and smack him. Whereas Holder is a much smarter bowler. He is a very good outfielder with his height, and he could come in as a pinch hitter and knock things off. I still felt that dropping Holder for Chamira did not make a lot of sense. In the end, Chamira went for what, 54 runs in 4 overs, no wickets picked.
Just on that lines, who do you think is a better batsman at number 5, Evan Lewis or Jason Holder? Because they brought back Evan Lewis in place of Jason Holder, I believe, because Chamira was always playing with them.
At 5, I would go with Holder at any point, right? I mean, if it was 1, 2, 3, I would definitely prefer Evan Lewis. But at 5, I think Jason Holder is definitely the better pick there.
I mean, there were some matches for SRH where he smacked the long ball and then he has taken their teams much closer to the target single-handedly. Holder, I still think he's the most underrated all-rounder in modern T20I games. Maybe because he's not flashy or he doesn't play those kind of innings, but I think he's a very good utility player.
See, I actually wonder if, after Quinton's wicket, when KL Rahul is standing there in the middle and he turns around and he says, "Hey, Manan, what are you doing here?" Right? But by then it's too late. He's already picking up the guard. He's taking his wicket. He's doing all of that stuff. So I wonder if it was a surprise for him. I'm hoping not. I'm guessing they had some strategy behind it. But, maybe he just realized that Evan Lewis was busy just chilling out somewhere and he just had his pads on. So he just snuck in, because I can't understand why else they would do that.
That's a good point. I mean, and then imagine he's surprised, and then Manan is like, Gauti overruled your strategy and he sent me in, and KL is like, the perils of having a controlling and a boss who only imposes ideas, and we just speculate. All right, moving on to the exciting match tomorrow, RR versus RCB. Predictions, who do you think is going to win?
Yeah, I think this is the hardest match to call, because I feel both these teams are very evenly matched. You're really splitting hairs at this point, because both these teams have exciting talent. They've got big names that are known to play big matches and big wins. So I can't pick between these two off the top of my head. So I'm going with my heart and saying RCB. Yeah, the only chink in RR's armor for me is their bowling strategy. I feel they need to go in with another bowler as an option. That said, I felt their their balance in the team that they had in the last match was probably a very good balance, right? So I think RR will struggle if both their spinners go for runs, or if even one of them goes for a huge amount of runs. I think they may struggle. So very little to pick between these two teams. It's not like RCB. RCB has a few champions, but like they still have Siraj, who has to get through 3-4 overs, who can get clobbered out there and stuff, right? So yeah, I'm going RCB purely from what I want the result to be. I genuinely don't have a scientific reason to pick RCB over RR.
But the last time RCB played RR, it was Rian Parag who played a good innings, some sort of an innings, and he got them to a respectable score, and then the bowlers did the rest.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, and they did not meet again in the league. They only met once.
No, they met once
The
before
first
when Dinesh
time
Karthik hit Ravi Ashwin for a lot
BK,
of sixes and all that.
Okay, so it is even Stevens.
Stevens. But like for an RR point of view, I think RCB would be really an intimidating team. Of course, Kohli is not in form, but you just see Kohli, you see a big game, you know that he's pumped up and he is looking for situations like this where he can just bring his best game. But yes, like Abhinav mentioned, it's a quite even contest. And if he is interested, what change RR can bring in the bowling, they can definitely bring in a Navdeep Saini, who was with RCB. And
I welcome that. We will definitely win if Navdeep Saini comes in.
yeah, I don't think there is any I don't think RR is going to change the team or strategy. They just have to play the way they are and hope that RCB plays scores a 1 run below what they are scoring, or probably just score 1 run above. And hopefully Sanju Samson wins the toss this time.
I was about to ask, nobody knows what the pitch in Motera is like. I mean, it could be a batting paradise or it could be a spinner's wicket, right? Now, RR has better spinners when compared to RCB. Yes, we have a Hasaranga, but he's the only spinner, and maybe a Shabazz. So they are no match for Chal and Ashwin together. So I don't know what the wicket is going to be, but you guys are saying win the toss, bat first? Arijit, is that what your strategy would be?
I wouldn't. I think it's better to know what to chase because it's not going to be a one-out pitch. Whether the pitch is gripping and turning, or whether the pitch is bouncing and seaming or whatever, I don't expect a fresh new pitch at Motera will deteriorate over 40 overs. And in those cases, chasing always helps. But then, I don't know. I feel RCB's strength is in the bowling right now. So
I think it will be close because initially I used to support both RCB and RR because I always support underdogs and teams which never had a possibility to win the IPL. But this time, both of them have surprised their fans and me. So I think this is pretty close, but I will go with RCB because these guys have suffered quite long. Means RCB, RR has won it once, but I think RCB has it pretty close. And as Danish said today, like it feels like this is. It just feels like.
I don't want to say any of that. No.
Yeah, like I have that feeling, but I don't want to say it. But I think we have that feeling. But yeah, I mean, it's a 3-3-1 panel. Bidu, you are going for RCB or you're going for RR? It's obvious.
All of my mind is RCB, but let's support RR for the final time.
Yeah.
See what happens.
So I'll tell you what my worry is. I don't know how many games RCB have won chasing. The latest in my memory is against GT, where Kohli and Faf had like a great partnership and then they chased. But if RR end up scoring 180, 190, then I'm not sure with RCB chasing. So I think the game against LSG, in my opinion, worked really well because when RCB goes batting first, they're just batting fearlessly and they're trying to get as much as they can. And then their bowlers will come back and defend. I don't know how many games of RCB won chasing this time.
Yeah, I mean, RCB has won against RR chasing when Dinesh Karthik played. But look at the three teams like Gujarat, Rajasthan, and RCB. Who is a team who is not playing to the potential? It is RCB. If the big guns start to fire unanimously, it is the RCB who is actually going to expand their potential to a bit. Because Gujarat Titans have been winning by stretching their potential. Rajasthan, I don't think, can play any better. They are playing to the optimum capability. It's just that RCB is not playing to the capability and still finding ways to win. Or maybe if other teams are losing and then RCB is going through. But the most chance a team has to improve is RCB with the potential that they have.
I like that RCB is in the top 3 and you're saying they're not playing to their potential, man. I mean, think about the millions of fans out there who are like already overjoyed where RCB is finding themselves. So, but I see your point.
Go ahead.
Okay, so
yes, saying something.
I mean, we know what tomorrow's game is going to be. But if you were GT, who would you want as your opponent for Sunday? Not that it would matter to them, but if they were given a choice.
RR. If
Right.
I think they have figured out RR pretty well, and RCB is this unexpected team. Like you don't know what goes right or wrong for them. Like one moment they are all poised to win, and then they just crash. So I think they are more of a means like a very tricky team to face. RCB, especially in the final. If RCB goes to the final, I am telling you, my money is on RCB.
Hasn't Gujarat Titans lost both the games against RCB?
No.
I can't. I know they lost the last game against RCB, which RCB had to win. I don't know if they lost the previous game.
They
I think
lost
both
only
occasions
one.
Virat Kohli scored well. I think when one game he scored a 40, another game he scored a 50. And I think both the games RCB won.
No, Bidu, I think they lost. RCB lost one game to GT because I had a bet. I had a bet with a colleague and I lost that.
Okay.
Okay, so it does seem like we are gunning for an RCB GT final, but before that, they better get through RR tomorrow, and RR is RCB B team because it's got the champions of RCB from the previous season, Chal, DDP, and Saini. Who else is there? Three of them. Anybody else from RCB who are in RR now?
Oh, I don't think so, but I wouldn't be surprised. These are the names that come to the top of my mind.
Yeah.
Suraj, just one question. Like there's this Bangalore boy, Prasid Krishna. Would he be really happy if RCB wins, or would he be sad that RR won?
Who is paying him?
Exactly.
He would be happy if whoever is paying him wins. And I'm sure although his heart will lie in Karnataka.
I remember this one interview of him. He was cheering for RCB, and then he gets selected for KKR, and he plays really well against RCB, and then he feels really bad about the whole thing.
But I mean, just on that, the only crossover which RCB have from RR is Mahipal Lom Road. So it might be he might be one of those people
Wasn't
who
Yash Dhool also there? Is he in the RCB squad if I'm not mistaken?
Yash Dhool is in DC, I think.
DC, okay, correct.
So as long as I'm just hoping that Riyan Parag does not have a great game tomorrow. It does seem like that man only plays against RCB. So.
Yeah, and he has not got any catches till now. Barring the one where there was a grass chance, which went to third umpire. I think he's the only player who has not dropped any catches as of now.
That's not a good
side.
Yeah. All right, gentlemen. That's we are almost close to the end of the show. Any last comments?
I look forward to great matches over the next few days. I'm sure it's going to be very close. I'm sure it's going to be a lot of fun. New pitches means high scoring, hopefully. So yeah, look forward to some fantastic cricket.
Yeah, I think I would want to write bleed red over the next 3 days, but then if they don't bleed red, then I'll bleed blue.
Okay, Suraj, on that note, I hope there are some exciting cricket matches coming up, and plus there's the Formula One, which will be covered in our Toast the Talk episode. And also, we are having the French Open going on, running, and we have the tennis toast also with Agnev as the host, as a new host. They fired me. And so please look forward to those episodes. So do share, subscribe, and hit the like button on YouTube. That's from me. Suraj, over to you.
We want to call ourselves the TTT universe, Toast the Toss, or the Toast Network TTN universe. So we are almost like the Marvel universe. We started off with the cricket show, expanded to F1. Now we've added tennis. We'll soon be adding a couple more, and that's and you will start seeing more and more superheroes and shows which come up. All right, with that, it's a wrap for today. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time and for your comments. Thank you for everybody who's going to watch this show, who's already watching it and who will watch it later. Do like it, and we will put out